So I'm here with Andrew Francis, who's the Director of Home Farm Nacton. Andrew, long-standing friend of Agri-TechE. What's been the last decade in terms of the new and exciting innovations that you've seen coming through? Just talk us through what the last 10 years have looked like.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to go with quite practical solutions really the last 10 years, because I think we've moved a long way in practical terms, in terms of being able to deliver tasks on fields, in farm. I would go for, to be honest, one of my top ones I always talk about is GPS control. I think the fact that it has de-stressed tractor driving and key operations to such a high extent, how it's brought about precision ag, so we can drive to literally 1 to 2 centimetre spacings, how that the efficiencies that's brought from a diesel saving perspective, time efficiency, ensuring that the land is singly worked, not double worked, and that you're not missing anything. I think that has been one of the key things, thinking about guys that are going out that are have manually had to steer hose in the past, that have had to ridge beds, that have had to lay out fields. You can't do that in the dark, you can't do it in the fog, so productivity used to get really hampered. The fact now that you can go out and just press a button and the tractor does it for you, I think has been a huge benefit, and I think it's often overlooked as something really simple with a really great solution and really beneficial. The other one that I'd sort of tie to that would be vision guidance hose. We used to grow a lot of vegetables that sort of come through the last decade or so, losing a lot of herbicide chemistry on particular vegetable crops, particularly carrots and parsnips, and the ability for a hoe to identify what it needs to take out has really improved that job and increased the output tenfold. Wow.
And so going forward to the next decade, you're obviously at the heart of a lot of innovation. You're a very forward-thinking farmer, and you, I know, like to keep your finger on the pulse of the exciting things. Where do you think we'll be in 10 years' time, when we're having this conversation in another decade? What are you most excited about?
I think for me the next decade is about small stuff rather than big mechanised stuff. I think the itch that I can't scratch is really understanding what our soils are up to. So we can understand about change, we can measure change, but actually how do we get to trend analysis really? At the moment there's a lot of technology being developed to monitor specific things in our soils, but the scale of that is so minute. How do we actually incorporate that into management decision processes, and actually is it really relevant? It's a pin shot in a massive hundreds and thousands of acres, and you're trying to say that these pinheads are actually going to give you management based information and allow you to adapt your systems. So I think that's, whilst it's interesting, I think it's a little bit of a red herring in terms of what we're going to do going forward. I think what we need is a sort of policy and regulation and frameworks built for us that actually we can all agree on what are the metrics. We need some fairly broad metrics, and they need to be looking at trend analysis rather than sort of finite numbers. But we need to monitor trend over time to say, well, actually, are we improving on using a specific metric, or are we decreasing? So first of all, we must agree the metric, and secondly, we need to agree, well, actually, if it's a trend, can it go up and down a little bit as well, so long as the general trajectory is upwards. So for me, it's about what is that going to look like in the field, and how do we adopt that and integrate it into our practices at an affordable and real-time level.
And if you were issuing a call to arms to regulators, policy, government funders, innovators, what would be your wish list that you would like to see delivered?
I think clarity. So I think we need to be really clear on what we're using. We need to be unified as well. I think we've all got to agree that those metrics are the right ones. And whilst there will be the granular science that could sway that decision one way or the other, actually in reality we've got to be able to move things forward, we've got to grab it and apply it into a practical system. So good needs to be good enough, doesn't have to be perfect. So actually let's just get to that agreement point and let's start moving forward with something, rather than continuing debate around sort of the granularity of science, because I don't think, we'll never move forward at a farm level. We'll never move forward while debates rage about how to measure certain things. Actually, well, if there is such a debate around specific metrics, let's back away from them. Let's not use them. If we don't understand them, let's stop talking about them until someone decides actually they know what that metric needs to look like. Let's use something a bit coarser. Let's make it affordable. Let's make it deliverable at scale and integrated into management practices. So it's going to come from software developers, it's going to come from the regulators. We're going to need investment into that whole process to facilitate it, whether that's at government level, private investor level, but actually how is this all going to be funded? But the thing is that the difficulty with these things is building data. Farmers are convinced by data over time. When you're developing and introducing something new, you don't have the benefit of all that historic data. So actually, how are you going to get that adopted at scale? So there's going to have to be some really big carrots for the industry to adopt it. And then it's then a case of actually, let's just pause the debate for 4 or 5 years, collect the data, let's all reconvene in 5 years' time and look at the trend, and let's understand the trend, not point information.
Sounds great. That is indeed a holy grail, isn't it? Let's reconvene in 10 years and let's hope that your vision has come to reality. Andrew, thank you so much.
Thank you.